Okay, we're good to go. Okay, so we have two public speakers.
Yep.
First is Pat Findicott.
Good try.
Sorry.
You want to just move over to that chair? Or just...
Yes,
at the
yeah,
table?
you're welcome to sit at the table. The microphones are in the ceiling, so just if you could project it upward as best as possible, that'd be great.
So I'm with Voice. Voice is a coalition of 50 faith-based community groups. And we're out in the community meeting people. We're holding listening sessions, and the issues we choose to fight for emerge from listening. So when we ask people what challenges they're facing in the community, the number one answer, hands down, is housing. We hear stories, kids changing schools every year because families are forced to move, a teen living with her mother in a single room, assistant teachers taking a second and third job to pay the rent. But our work in housing has deepened our understanding of the problem and the solutions. So like you, we understand the interconnectedness of the housing market. And like you, we understand the housing shortage can't be solved with a single intervention. And like with you, I think, we understand the status quo is not working. So without abundant, safe, affordable housing, more problems are being created. And those households spending 40, 50% of their income on rent are being locked into poverty. Homelessness is increasing and local jobs are hard to fill. So I don't know if you know this saying, every system is perfectly designed to get the results that it gets. We need systemic change. And one change making its way across the country is states are stepping up and taking a larger role in solving the housing shortage. So in your legislative priorities, we please support the Yes in God's Backyard, the YIGBY bill that would allow faith-based institutions and nonprofits to build affordable housing on their property by right. We know faith institutions who have dwindling congregations, aging buildings. They're penny poor, but land rich. So we have this severe housing shortage, and we have institutions with land who want to help. And yet, Unity Homes in Ballston took 10 years, maybe 17 years, depending when you start counting. The Unitarians gave up on a housing project after learning their church was on the wrong side of Route 50. So they would have to get the zoning changed for height. And now Clarendon Presbyterian's vision of building senior housing is on hold after 3 years of work and $300,000, not because of a lack of will, but because bureaucratic hoops are making it almost impossible. So we believe this should not happen. We believe the housing shortage is the key moral issue of the day. And we ask you to support the YIGBY bill that will help make housing more abundant so all Virginians can meet the most basic need of having a shelter. Thank you.
And the second speaker is William Fogarty.
Good evening. My name is Bill Fogarty. I'm a retired real estate attorney and an official historian of some sort. I come here to urge your support of the affordable housing bill that is referred to as Yes in God's Backyard. I also will ask you to join me in changing the messaging of that bill. I'm a strong supporter of the separation of church and state, so I have been uncomfortable with the first version of the bill, which referred only to church properties. I was glad version 2 opened it to nonprofit owners. I would like to see version 3 that is open to any landowner, be it a church, American Legion, an old bank site, even Joe and Mary Smith. My messaging point is that this should be called the Committed Affordable Rental Bill, because that's the goal here, to create affordable rental housing based on committed covenants of record. The end goal is to have a project with the recorded legal obligation to rent units to folks with various income levels, such that they pay no more than 30% of their gross income for housing costs. To get to the goal of increasing the supply of affordable housing, the first step is to achieve regulatory reform to make it quicker and less cumbersome and less costly to create affordable housing. And with the omnipresent Dillon rule in Virginia, we need statewide regulatory reform, which starts with the General Assembly. So I ask you to please support the bill as a first step in this work. And I ask everyone to get involved in the legislative process as refinements, no doubt, will be made to any proposed bills. Writing legislation is a tricky business, and we need many voices involved in this process to avoid unintended consequences. At the very least, think about changing the messaging. I know we all love acronyms for legislation, so I might call this the CAR bill, CAR, Committed Affordable Rentals. That's what we want to get as the end goal. Thanks for listening and thank you for your work, everybody. Really appreciate it.
That's all the public speakers, so.
Great, well, thank you.
I was here 2 minutes exactly, so I try to do 2 minutes. Thanks so much for
Thank you
everything.
for your work.
Yeah. Yeah. That'd be wrong.
Thank you.
No second thought, that's somebody else's.
That's fine.
Okay, yeah.
So I know Joe sent in his 10. I don't know what the best way to do this, if like you should go around and just say them and try and like keep like a tally of like between the four, like us three and Joe, like how many people selected, and see like from there where there's a commonality, or if anyone else has any other ideas for the best way to kind of keep track of where there's alignment.
Share my 10.
Okay.
Drop me, someone want to write it down or?
Yeah,
Okay. So my top 10, just going in the order of the lowest to highest in the numbers, is number 2, number 7, number 8. I'm not sure how I put that as maybe because I don't know what that is. 9, 11, 13, 14, 15.
You're going really fast. 11,
13,
13,
15.
13 through 15, 22, 29, and 30.
22, 29.
And 32.
Okay, I can go next.
I'm at 32.
It's the streamlined development process from.
I have that as 29.
Yeah, that one's.
There you go, that's 32.
Okay.
Well,
Uh-oh, you have a different list.
this-
I wonder-
I'm just going off the one that I sent out after the last meeting.
Yeah.
That's what I did too.
Yeah.
Listen.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know why it's different. Then I may not have marked down all the right ones then, but you want to say what they are as you say the numbers?
Yeah, so, number 2 is grant authority localities, enforce general rights protections, VT-LRA. 7 is expand list of provisions, statewide building code, code for mold, et cetera. 8 is enabling legislation that, we do with the subcommittee. 9 is the, require apartment owners to provide staff training for VRLTA. 11 is allocate more resources to fair housing. 13 is fund state pilot housing voucher. 14 is the Dignity, Faith in Housing. 15 is developmental use of accessory dwelling units. 22 is increased funding for housing trust fund. 29 is condo liability insurance reform, and 32 is streamlined development process.
Wait, sorry. Increase funding for affordable housing trust fund, and then what was after that?
A condo, number 29, condo liability insurance reform. And then 32 streamlined. So it's
Thank you.
It's appeared Joe is working on this. But you did say what they are, so we should be good.
Okay. Okay, I can go next. At number 1, expand localities negotiation authority of developers. For a number of the things that we talked about in the larger committee this year. Number 2, the granting authority to tenant rights under VRLTA. Number 3, enhance anti-retaliation protections for tenants who form an association. Number 4, allow general district courts to place residential buildings under receivership when the property manager or landlord fails to address significant maintenance, etc. Number 8, enabling legislation to amend the subcommittee one. Number 14, the Yes in God's Backyard, although I remember from previous discussion on this, like, I don't know if, like, I feel like there was an effort to try and like take out the ability for like a lot of the transparency around some of that. So I don't know if I would necessarily support that. But I think I read in your notes that like the housing commission needed to take a position on that anyway. So I feel like that might need to be a discussion. If there's draft bill language, maybe we could just like actually look at the draft bill language in the larger committee. Number 22, increase funding for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Number 26, the FH zoning. 13, funding a state housing voucher program. And 32, streamline development for the 100% affordable housing developments.
Sorry, you had AFH zoning authority. That one got incorporated into priority.
Yeah, okay.
But what was after that?
13, the pilot voucher program, and 32, the streamline development for 100% affordable. And then I want to put enabling legislation for missing middle, but I don't know what's going on with the like courts with that, so I don't know if that makes sense. But that's also a priority.
Does Elena want to go, or I can go?
Oh, hi, Elena. You're on mute. Okay, maybe you should just.
Okay.
Oh yeah, 1 minute. Okay.
And so for mine, these are not in the order. So, and it's a bit different. So this is the last one. So what you guys said was 32. But it would be more specifically require localities to develop a streamlined development process for 100% affordable development. So instead of the state developing one, it would be a requirement that localities all have to come up with a process that is streamlined. 2 was create the AFH grant program. 3, I'm just saying 3 is in line. Require legal aid office contact info for all lease terminations. Lease number. Something.
It was 23 on the list that Jason and I looked at.
Okay. And then I had faith in housing. Then allocate more resources towards enforcing fair housing laws to prevent discrimination. Is 11. Then I had expand localities negotiation authority with developers first. I think that's 1, right?
Yeah.
And then expand no, just said that 1. Grant authority to Virginia localities to enforce tenant rights and protections of the VRLTA. 2. Enhance anti-retaliation protections for tenants, which is number 3. Increase funding for the Virginia Housing Trust Fund. 19.
Is that 19 on the board?
Yes, yep. And then placeholder for the affordable housing ordinance.
So that's 22, the trust fund, yeah, 22, and then also last one we put.
Like affordable housing ordinance.
That's
whatever that
subcommittee?
would be.
Yeah,
Which is,
yeah.
if I could do 11, then I would say like the voucher program.
Elena, do you have your 10?
Yeah, I'm just making sure I have the right one. I guess the one I'm looking at is 29 bullets, not 32. So is there this different list?
I think
I'm seeing that one too.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, because I'm trying to go back and forth between the list now with my numbers. So my numbers were 1, 2, and 3. And then I'm just double checking the list now. 10 and 11, 14, 15, 10, 11, and then 28, 29. I want to make sure
You said 28, 29?
yeah, so just making sure that 28, the one I have is housing supply emergencies declared by Virginia with incentives.
Yep,
Okay, and then 29, I have a streamlined development process.
yep.
Okay, and then I also had 27, but I agree. I mean, should I, because that is in the court process, are we going to actually be discussing that? If not, I can move to the next one.
I mean, we can always propose it. I don't think that the county board will be receptive to hearing that right now. But
Okay,
that doesn't mean that we can't propose it.
then I think I'll move to the next one because I think that's probably a good point that it's in the court right now. So after 27, I had 20, which I have require legal aid. Not matching with you guys.
Mhm.
And did I already say 14 and 15? Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Is that 10? Or is that 9? Because I took away 27.
Good question. I'm not sure.
4, 5, 6, 7, 9. Yes, that is 9. Okay, so I only had those. I think there was one about expanding the uniform code. Which one is that one?
That is 7.
7. Okay, yeah. 7.
That is 7 as well.
Yeah, and then that's my 10.
Alex, you want to read out Joe's?
Yeah. So Joe has, number 1, and localities negotiation authority. Number 4, allow general district courts to place residential buildings under receivership. Number 8, enabling legislation for the AHO, subcommittee 1. Number 10, increase funding for rental/home ownership assistance. Number 11, allocate more resources towards enforcing fair housing laws. Oh, and the AFFH grant program. Number 13, the pilot state housing voucher program. Number 14, the House or the Faith in Housing for the Commonwealth Act. Number 15, development and use of accessory dwelling units. 19, which is increased funding for the Virginia Affordable Housing Trust Fund. And then he also had 27 and 29. So 27, enabling legislation for missing middle, and 29, which is the streamlined development process for affordable development.
Can you say the ones that Elena named with the 32 list? Or just say like what you just did there,
So
like the text version?
unfortunately, Joe set it up very nicely for me. That's why I had that.
Okay.
I can
Oh wait, I have her numbers. Do you have his old list? If I repeat her numbers, can someone just read like what the text of it is?
want to make sure. Okay, yeah, I can.
Okay, so she had number 1.
Okay, so expand localities, negotiation authority with developers for site plan conditions,
Okay, she had 2.
which is grant authority to the Virginia localities to enforce the VRLTA.
Okay. And then she had 3.
Enhance retaliation protection for tenants who form a tenant association.
Okay. 10 and 11.
10 is increase funding for rental assistance, and 11 is allocate more resources towards enforcing fair housing laws to prevent discrimination.
And then 14 and 15.
It's the faith in housing is number 14, and then number 15 is the development and use of accessory dwelling units.
Okay. And then 28, 29.
So 28, and correct me if this is wrong, is that the CLT program that CivFed is looking at, Elena? And then 29 is the
The one I have is 28 is housing supply emergency declared by Virginia with new incentives for development.
okay, and then 29 would be the
Streamlined.
for development.
Yes.
And 20, right, Elena? You had 20?
Yeah, I have the require legal aid office contact information for all lease terminations.
Okay, thank you.
So by my count, we have 9 priorities that have at least 3 votes. And then we have a bunch that have 2 or less.
Which are the ones with all those? 32, 14, or sorry, streamlined development,
So there's
faith in housing.
only those 2 that have 5 votes each.
Oh,
We have a couple 4s.
okay.
The 4s are expand localities negotiation authority, which is 1. Grant authority to Virginia localities to enforce Senate rights. The affordable housing ordinance 1. More fair housing enforcement resources. And housing trust fund, like increasing that Virginia housing trust fund. Is the 4s. So I read the 3s.
Sure.
Number 3, enhance anti-retaliation protection for tenants. Fund a pilot state housing voucher program, which last time we said that was related to. I should have said related to number 10, the increased funding for rental / and then we have the developmental and use is it development and use of accessory dwelling units? Yeah. That's number 15.
So I have a question about that. Doesn't Arlington already allow ADUs?
Yes, so this is really around like basically have Arlington tell VML and NACO that they don't oppose the General Assembly taking this action.
Yeah, and even with Arlington, if you look at, so there was a zoning change, I think in 2019, because they were getting like according to the FY 24 housing indicators, since 2010, there's been 106 ADUs permitted in Arlington. So like we have it, but there's still, I think there could be a lot more uptake that's not being done because of requirements and I think of Arlington, like it's like, okay, like Fairfax has one, Falls Church has one, but I think if Arlington's like, okay, well, we don't want to do it just for Arlington, but if it's a state law and like Fairfax got to comply with these things like parking requirements or other items in terms of being able to sell the ADU, that sort of thing, that makes it more, people want to do it because like it's more feasible to do it. I think that could get buy-in because it's like the regional, it's like, hey, we're, you're giving up your, decision making on this, but in return, you're getting the fact that all these localities are going to comply and this is going to be help our region out. So.
Thanks, that's helpful.
So with the 9 that didn't have at least 3 votes, how do we want to treat those?
Wait, did you finish reading all the?
All the 3s, yeah. The last one was 15. Development and use of accessory dwelling.
I mean, I feel like those 9 are definitely. You should definitely take to the larger commission, right?
My feeling is unless anyone has a strong objection, it's no
Sorry, can you just say it one more time? So
Yeah.
What the 9 are?
What number on the updated, the 29?
Number 1,
Okay, 1.
2,
Yep.
3,
Yep.
8.
Yep.
11. 13.
Yep.
14.
Yep.
15. 19. And 20. Right, that's 9.
So 8, and just for the, I just want to make sure that we're, that may, like, I don't know what the status, because I think I just saw the email, we had our last meeting last week, right? And then there is the draft board report, because it seems like the conditions to enable the proposed increase will affect bonus density. So like that number, it may get less AHIF contribution depending on the bonus density that's being proposed. If there is a lot of bonus density, so like it depends on the building. So it's like if you have no bonus density, you're getting more. But then if you have a lot of bonus density, then you get less. So I don't know what the status of that is for the solution. If we want to,
I'm just treating that as a placeholder. So we're basically just saying whatever comes out of the subcommittee, assuming housing commission agrees, will be slotted in as one of the 10. But we're not going to decide today what that is. We'll just say slot reserved for that.
so do we want to have a +1 as a backup in case that one does not come? Like
I think it makes sense, although I'm hopeful that and just you guys are not aware. So we're gonna have 2 meetings in September. Our meeting on the 4th we're not gonna talk about legislative priorities, and we're not gonna talk about the affordable housing ordinance recommendation, because that's not gonna be ready by then. So we're working right now to identify a date for our second meeting in September, where we will talk about the legislative priorities and talk about the affordable housing ordinance subcommittee like report. And so hopefully at that meeting, we can just decide what we want to move forward with.
But you think, could we just add a lot, just in case, so.
Yeah. You're hopeful it's gonna,
I think so. That there'll be a resolution.
I'm not.
We'll see. There's a lot of email traffic today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not on it, so.
No.
Hey.
Oh.
Hi.
So it's, yeah. I'm just sort of watching, but I think we've invested a lot in it, and I'd really like for something to come out of it that is helpful. So, yeah, it would not be ideal in my view that we don't have something to show for.
Yeah, no, I agree. It just seems like. It almost seems like some people don't want there to be a resolution. They like, think more discussion is needed. Which maybe there is, but
We shall see.
Yeah.
I look forward to the report from the subcommittee. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy with doing like backup,
yeah,
for that one.
I think that's a good idea.
And we would still need to figure out if we're planning to do 10, then what those 11 are. And so what are the two beyond the priority that we've already mentioned?
Yeah, I mean, I'm good with these, but I would propose, I don't know if anyone else, but the condo liability, but I'd love to pitch that as the either backup or the one that gets added. Because I think that is, I don't know, we have increased supporting for home ownership, but I think that would pair nicely with the home ownership piece if we go with that, because I was looking again, I think Virginia, like there was a couple bills on statute of limitations, but that's just one of the things with the insurance liability. And I think Virginia actually has like a 5-year, which I think is pretty decent just from what I've seen. But I think that would be a good recommendation to pair it. Not necessarily recommend any of the certain ones that have other states have done, but just recommend to the board that there be further review of Virginia's defect liability laws and others that could be amended, or other processes that are changed so that we focus on home ownership, because a lot of the things we have are rental, which is I think great, but I think that'd be a good home ownership piece also.
So that one only had one vote, not to say that we.
Yeah, no,
can't
I know.
but do you guys want me to read off all the ones that had 2 votes?
Yeah.
Number 4, allow general district courts to place residential buildings under receivership. Number 7, expand the list of provisions in the Uniform Statewide Building Code. Number 10, increase funding for rental / homeownership assistance. Number 20, require legal aid office contact info for all lease terminations. Number 24, AFH grant program, and that's it.
So we don't have any, I don't think any home ownership besides the number 2,
10,
Yeah.
increase funding for rental / homeownership assistance.
but that was just 2, not 3.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I was just reading out the 2.
I mean, I would say in terms of like what we're hearing from, like just what we heard from public comment tonight, that like housing affordability is an issue, so increasing funding for assistance is always a good thing. That being said, with the budget, the state budget being so tight, I don't know if another budget dependent one is a good idea. I feel like the legal aid one is, the legal aid resources like should in theory be like easy low hanging fruit, which could be nice. Those are sort of my initial thoughts.
I think we probably would have gotten the legal aid one passed last year if anyone had carried it. But the county board didn't ask anyone to carry that. Even though they agreed with it and they included it in the legislative priorities, they just didn't simply ask anyone to sponsor that, so nothing happened with it. And I agree that, and last year when we included it, we were like, oh, this is a pretty easy one. That should be bipartisan.
Right.
Number 10, the increased funding for rental / homeownership assistance. It's pretty similar to fund a pilot state housing voucher program, at least the rental assistance piece of it is. So I wouldn't want to include both, at least as they currently stand. I'd want to change 10 if we went that route to say we're just focusing on homeownership. Because I think it's kind of redundant with the pilot state housing voucher program. Obviously I'm partial to the AFH grant program because that's like I developed that and I'm pushing separately for that to happen, but
Is that the same as the fair housing, or is that separate? Is that separate?
separate. So the fair housing enforcement would be giving more money to either like the Attorney General's office or the Office of Fair Housing to hire more staff and do more investigations and get them done quicker and all that stuff. Because they're right now there's just one civil rights attorney. I mean, that's a political decision by the Attorney General that just doesn't want to do discrimination cases. But the Office of Fair Housing has backlog and they need more people and resources to do what they do. The AFH grant program is money for localities like Arlington to apply for specifically so that they could address like disparities between neighborhoods created by like the legacy segregation. And that could be beyond housing to be disparities in access to like employment. So you have, you know, unemployment rates in one neighborhood are much higher than another one, or you have transfer rates much higher in one neighborhood than another. Like it's saying like it would be grant program to address disparities left behind because of segregation, essentially. I mean, yeah, I'm open to us including it. I'm gonna be pushing separately for that to happen. And it's great if the Arlington County Board is on board with it, but if it's not a priority for them, it's not really gonna hurt it that much in my view. But yeah, I'm more partial to the legal aid office contact info because I feel like that is, if you just get a patron, it's an easy thing to
Yeah.
get done.
Yeah.
But just the county did not do that last year.
Do we think they would this year?
I have no idea. I mean, from talking to county board members about legislative priorities, it's very up in the air how they choose to treat it. Like there's no defined process of whether or not it's just a statement of how they feel about things or whether it's a commitment to push for certain legislation to get passed. I guess Fairfax has like a 100-page legislative priority. It's like how they feel about every potential subject that could become before the General Assembly. It's not tied to like, here are the things we want passed this year. It's just, here's how we feel about
Oh, I see.
reference this when
Okay.
you're, you know, voting on things that impact Fairfax. But Arlington hasn't really made the decision, like the board has not decided, are we doing these legislative priorities because we want to pass certain legislation? Or are we doing them to just show people, here's how we feel about things?
Mhm.
They've been doing a kind of a combination. And like some things they actually proactively work on and other things they don't, and it's seemingly random.
Yeah, the only thing with I mean, I think it's a good idea. The only thing I just think like the impact, like I don't, because how many people, you have people, obviously it applies to people in, committed affordable, housing, but but I just.
I don't know, this would be for everyone.
Right
So
now,
it's
it's
No,
only,
no, no, I know, but I'm just saying the impact is that it's just a contact information. Is that gonna be a game? I mean, I just, if someone has a release, are they gonna? I'm not saying like, are they gonna be able to get help or they're just like hopeless that, if this is put in this is gonna make or break, or, I mean, because they could still access that information. It's just having it there. So I don't know how much is this gonna really help versus saying, oh crap, like you gotta figure out my options or contact someone or read. I mean, maybe someone who's really, really out of it, but I feel like a lot of people, if this happens, not, they'll be able to. I just don't have the.
no, I see what you're saying, like, just because it's there, will they actually,
Yeah.
like, call the number and do something about it?
do we
And
wanna
then
use
if they
this
can
as-
just Google it and
Yeah,
find it.
so in
yeah.
my experience, people have no idea what resources are available, and they assume that there are none. So I think most people don't know legal aid exists. And they assume that, because I get these calls, like I get a lot of like, hey, Kellen, I want you to talk to my friend. They're having a housing issue, like related to the lease, or they're getting evicted and they don't know what to do. Can they talk to you? So, sure. And same thing when we talk to, especially a lot of like CAF tenants or low income tenants or something in the area. Like I've just fielded a lot of those calls over the years and emails and things. People have no idea what's available. They don't know the county has resources. They don't know, like they just assume in order to fight this, I have to hire a lawyer and I don't have money, so I can't. So I just have to accept this. So I think it actually would be significant if you say like, here's someone who could help you, because one, it tells them there is someone who might be able to help you. Because again, I just think a lot of people assume there's, why would anyone help me? I just assume that I can't get help, and so I'm just not going to fight it, even if they're in the right. And yeah, I mean, I see that all the time. So I do think that that would be significant. It's like most people don't get a lawyer for their evictions, right? And I think in Arlington, and we've taken steps to try to address that by having legal services at the courthouse when the eviction hearings are coming. But people, like, they don't know their rights, they don't know the law, they don't know what resources are available to them. Like the number of people that I've talked to in Arlington who have no idea what the county does and all the help that we provide. They're like, really, they provide homeless services? Yes, we spend a lot of money on that every year. And they're like, wait, they help you with rent if like you can't make rent and you're gonna be evicted? It's like, yes, like those are all things that we do, but so many people have no idea. But I think we're all in the bubble of like well-informed, and we hear about these things all the time, but I would say most people have no idea. What do people feel about like number 4 or number 7? Also got 2 votes each. And I was not able to reach out to Virginia Property Law Center about number 4 to get more background on whether that's been done before, whether that was just created specifically for Virginia. My apologies. I just didn't have time to get that done before this meeting.
Yeah, so I put 7 just because I don't know, I feel like I wanted at least one thing about health on here, but yeah, I don't know. That just seemed like a common sense one to put in that. But yeah, that is a state building code one. So I mean, I don't think did 6. Do we not? Did no one? But no one did 6 either. So
Yeah,
I mean,
6. I think we kind of said for 6, like probably not this year. So 7 was the only one related to mold that we said was a possibility for this year.
With 4 or 7.
I'm happy to take 7 off. I'm happy to take it off.
To not include it versus including
Yeah,
it.
I mean, if there's only, was that the two? Was it two voter?
But we need a 2.
Well, yeah, I mean, I feel like we have 2 spots to fill. And if we're looking at just the number 2s, then that gives us the options of 4, 7.
Right, but I'd rather, I mean, just think, I know like I made that one too, so like I'd rather, you know what I mean? Like, let's say I'd done someone else that was already created before, like maybe I make that a 1, you know, like, you know, I'm just, I don't know, I'm just, I'm not, if I'd rather elevate the condo than,
Condo's still only. Well,
I know. But just, you know,
Yeah.
like,
I mean, we can have all the people on the subcommittee just re-vote on all the rest of them that just didn't have 3 or more votes, if we want to do it that way.
like a ranked choice.
Yeah.
It's not really fun.
It
I
just,
don't want to burn my vote with.
it just cuts out Joe.
Yeah.
Well, and wait, who else is not here besides Joe? Karen, right? And she didn't send anything. Nikki, do we want to do that? Just decide which of the non-3s people want to move forward with just now.
I feel like deciding which of the non-3s among the 2s would be a more fair way to do it and sort of include Joe's voice instead of bringing everything back in. Or we could also include, because you're here, the condo one and feel very strongly about it, but
I think my issue with the condo one is it seems like it's giving a pass to developers who did a bad job. And it's trying to, and I understand why, because it's trying to keep the cost of construction down. And you do that by limiting like liability and things. But I also am very aware, and because you see it on like freaking all the reels and TikToks and stuff. It's like the home inspectors go through and they're like, yep, shoddy new construction. Look at the corners that they're cutting, and like all this stuff is crap and they're doing a terrible job. And the idea of then saying like, okay, but if they don't find that problem within a certain amount of time, we're going to shorten that time. And then the construction company gets to make that money. And then the homeowner suffers with what they're left behind with. Like, that's what I'm struggling with. Like, I get the intention behind it is like, we want more things to be built, but I also want them to be quality.
right.
And like, I don't think you have to sacrifice quality for that. Like, I feel like builders should be doing a better job. Like, the best way to have them not get sued is to not suck at their job. But
Well, the thing is, I'm just, just citing, it's been done. Colorado did it. They passed, I linked it out. Washington State has done it. So I feel like, these are, I think reforms that it's not necessarily giving a pass at a defect from a bill. It's just a process in which it goes about, like this. Yes, these defects. I mean, you look at, 432 Park Avenue in New York City. That's probably the most famous. You got, it's like you have multi. That's you got over $50 million condos suing because the elevators lean. Like yeah. So even at the top end, yeah, it does happen with issues. But I think a lot of that is like process, and when you go through third parties, a lot of times too, you have where you have the condo owners who are just, all right, they just sue at the first thing just to cover whatever, or to jump ahead of things versus allowing builder or whoever contractor to fix the issue, much lower costs. You could settle, you could do all these sorts of pathways. You can provide different warranties. You could do. It's not necessarily transferring the risk, letting people off the hook. It's simply fixing it instead of going to a litigious method as a default. And when you do that, you open the door to new classes of buildings that before were not possible. And I think that opportunity to buy into these buildings, if we, especially in Arlington, where it's really costly to do a lot of these things, and elevators and all these sorts of things, I think we can get away to have a nice, safe, quality building with all the due diligence, without having to just not have it exist at all. I think that, there's always a risk, even in rental or whatever, that things are going to go wrong. But even a single family, any home is going to have some sort of issue. But I think this pairs really well with the need for home ownership that's not either a super luxurious condo, which is what we're seeing, or like a townhouse, which can be built. It's super easy. There's like that middle ground is the real challenge to get some of the condos that we may see in like Alexandria, for example, or in Fairfax, types of condos. Like those are very hard to, I think, with the market, that can open up a market while still enabling quality.
So do Alexandria and Fairfax have similar?
They don't, but I think those markets, there's a couple, I think there's a couple condos that have been, I think there's more like small condos that get built like in Alexandria. That are not like super tall, like towers that we have in Arlington. And I think I guess it's like a slightly different market, in terms of, like, again, like a lot of condos, they're either, especially in Fairfax, they're either targeted to like senior only sort of buildings, or generally people who have a lot of money, so they're targeting people already like looking to downsize or whatever. So like they're not necessarily condos targeted at like younger buyers, which I think like DC market, I think it's more targeted towards that. And I think that that could be some of the case, like we modify some of these laws a little bit. There could be opportunities to open the market up further to enable like younger people to seek home ownership opportunities through these condos versus just going straight to townhouse or potentially future like EHO. But even EHO, those are going to be what generally like 1,500 square feet versus the condos. Like, what if you want to get that like 600-700 square feet? That's where the middle-sized buildings, I think, could provide more range.
Yeah, I guess what I'm not understanding is like, why is this, if we're seeing it in Alexandria and Fairfax without, I like want to use the word loophole, but I realize that's not correct. Without this reform, like why is it needed in Arlington?
Well, these are like a lot of these are their condos like right on the water. Like these are pretty premium product. These are like $1 million versus like I think Arlington, like they don't, there's really kind of a gap in terms of the lower end category. Even in Alexandria, there's still not that many condos being produced. It's not as low as Arlington, where we're getting perhaps potentially the first one in Roslyn, in Roslyn development. But it's still very low as a proportion in terms of, it's mostly rental.
The ones on the water are where? Alexandria. So basically, it's because they want to maximize their return on investment through this reform. Yeah.
Well, the issue is that the only way that they're able to cover the cost of this potential litigation for any issues is they have to make sure that they're building enough the premium product to cover that, because it's like a cost that's like added when you're purchasing it. So If you have to make that certain margin, and I guess volume compared to the site to get things to work. And so this is, I mean, again, it is, from the reports that show the different cities, like, Salt Lake City, they had a big dip and they changed their, they changed their laws, and it really shifts, it opens the door to these new possibilities that, I mean, we're just not gonna, that's the thing is, we're not gonna see it, like it's gonna really limit the new supply of home ownership when we see a site and they're looking at, okay, do we do condo or do we do rental? The needle's gonna keep going, which is, I mean, that could be okay, because we do need the rental, but it provides a less option to say, hey, oh, we're gonna do this, like if there's we can see a good home ownership opportunity. We see this in Pentagon City, where they're gonna do the new multiple buildings there, where they do the townhouses. They're gonna have like a condo building and the multiple different towers. So like that, that plays into it. And I think there's some middle sites that could be suitable for home ownership that they're like, no, we're just gonna do a rental building here. Or we're saying, oh no, we're just gonna, instead of doing a small condo, like, 50 units, we're just gonna do townhouses.
Yeah.
We're gonna do 20 townhouses instead of like 50 condo, so that it just pushed the needle away from.
Do you think that this is a significant enough cost that it would actually change that? Because I think my understanding is the major reason why we're not getting more condos, because you should make more money off of rental. Like, you raise the price of rents like every year. Condo, you sell it once, right? And then the developer is done with it. You think that this would change that dynamic enough so that they'll say, oh, it actually is better, more profitable for us to build condos versus rental?
Yeah, I think if the market, if you could, even rental is, can be hard to do, but I think there is, you can still make just as much money, doing the home ownership, especially because, the rental is, you're banking on like that 30-year, whatever, your long-term time frame as to what you hold the building, what you can exit later with either selling it or holding it and capturing whatever rents. But if you can, if you look at like costs, condo costs, like right now, I mean, you could see like the average condo is going to sell for more than what you could even get in return on your rent to cover the costs. Like you can't, especially no one is going to rent. That's why I see no one in Arlington is buying condos to rent out, because you're going to lose money. So if unless you like hold for like, again, that 30-year time frame. So like, oh, this is an opportunity to say, hey, you have a smaller site. And I think Arlington, in the future, we're going to have these sites opening up that, may not be suitable for, have the interest of a rental to say, oh, we want to invest in this because it's only like a 50 unit or whatever. We do minimum like 100 units. Oh, let's, we could do a condo here and get it to work out if it's a good enough location, and you can put 1, 2, 3 bedrooms versus just saying, oh, you know what, let's just do townhouse. And like, I think the good example of this is on Langston Boulevard, where they're going to do, and there's many reasons why they're just doing a townhouse, but they're just going to do a townhouse development, and that could be a good case. Like, oh, it's kind of a smaller-ish site that could be feasible. It's zoned to have the multi-unit, but it's not. So
I don't know. Like it kind of, what I continue to struggle with is it seems like it's giving the builders an out for doing crappy work. That it's like, instead of spending the money on insurance, why don't you spend that on quality control to just make sure you don't have these problems in the buildings anyways? Like, I know as a condo owner myself, it is so, for any time I have anything fixed or upgraded, they're always like, oh my gosh, who did this before? It's a piece of crap. They just did it the cheapest and the shoddiest way possible. Like, I'm surprised your place hasn't burned down. Like, they're always trashing whoever did whatever. And I know my condo was built in 1950, so like, we're not talking about the original builders for that, but it's always frustrating because then I have to pay for the upgrades, and I can't go to the previous owner and be like, oh, you did this thing, but you know hired someone off the street with no skills to like do whatever. And I also feel like too, if we're looking to incentivize more condos, we should do rent stabilization, right? Because if in your view, if rent stabilization happens, we're not going to get as many more like new rental units because they're going to be scared of that. Then won't that push them to do more condos? Like, well, we're going to make more money off of condos than we would off of rent, and then you get stabilized rent prices for the people who are in the rental. It's a win-win in that case.
But I would that way.
I think maybe let's
Yeah.
not get into that
No,
tonight,
no.
but like, because rent stabilization is not on the legislative priorities like list, but for me, I think the issue of encouraging more condo development is important. For reasons I think Kellen has brought up, I don't like the idea of possibly doing so at the expense of consumer options for shoddy work. So I don't think I can support it at this time. I see that in other cities it's had bipartisan support, which is a good thing. So I think it's, I should do some more looking into it, but the idea that like this reform needs to come at the expense of options for homeowners is like a little troubling to me. Like just that premise is a little troubling. But I know you said that it doesn't take away all options, like the warranty things, all of those, but
That's fine. You guys say it. I'm just that's fine. We're not going there, but it's not gonna happen. Like if you want to get condos, you have to put a reason to do it, or else they're gonna take the other options.
I think
Want to bring up a few things as far as litigation work with construction. First, just a sequencing, right? Just to bring additional context there. The first thing you do is you present a cure notice. That provides the builder the opportunity to fix the issue. So, I mean, I think that there's this assumption that you submit, you go to lawyers and lawyers go to court. That's like a year after the contractor has the ability to fix the issue. Typically within your construction contracts, you have a sort of arbitration through a cure notice process where they get the ability to fix the problem according to the specs and design. Now, the problem with that is you typically have a disagreement what means and methods to fix the specs and design. And then it gets really, really complicated from there. But there is always an opportunity for the contractor and the GC and through their sub-tier contractors to fix the work. It doesn't go immediately to lawyers and to judges and all of that. So there is always that opportunity. So, and then in addition, a lot of the times when you have to go to court and you have a litigation process, you typically, your first portion of that is you have to be able to prove that the work was actually against a code, right? Because then you go to codes and standards. It can't just be like, I don't like the tile and I wish it was another color, right? It's typically that the code was done in the installation or the mechanism of installation, and then the desired result was not in adherence to the code. And when that happens, then you have cause, and then you can get something back from the court system. So, I just think that there's just a little bit of nuance there on like, it isn't just you send them and you sue them, you take them to court and a judge starts to listen to you like that. That is a 2 to 3 to 4, 5 year process before you get in front of anybody. You typically have quite a long arbitration period with the contractor before you get to the point of, you've now stacked up hundreds of thousands of dollars with a lawyer. There's actually a lot of work that goes in before that happens. So, just saying that I kind of agree with them. I don't think we should be giving anybody a lower liability that they have already signed up to that is typical or industry standard. Of course, they're going to want a lower period and they would love that from us. But at the same time, I think, that there's an understanding that there is a period of which they're warranted of work, and you can only fix what is specs and design, not at somebody's, I don't like this. That doesn't fly. What it has to be is it has to be a code or standard violation, and you can get that fixed. So I just wanted to make sure we added that nuance there.
Yeah, that's really helpful context, and I think underscores for me the fact that most people are I don't think most people want to enter a pricey lawsuit, and if we take this pathway away for them, I see that as a negative, a negative expense. Like I understand, condos are, more housing options are important, but at the expense of Arlingtonians, I don't see that as a win personally. So I think that's helpful context.
So if we're primarily focused on the number twos, do people have strong views on which of the ones out of 4, 7, 10, 20, and 24?
4, 7, 10, 20, and 24.
Yes, we should do. So we just want to have each person say what two they like out of that. Or
Yeah, we can do that. I do like Jason's argument around having something related to health. So maybe 7. And, or no, 7 and 20, the legally contact information. Although honestly, I'm fine with any of these. I don't have any objections to any of them.
Yeah, I would be 7 and 20 as well.
I'm good with 7 and 20.
A 7 and 20 is fine with me.
Well, it sounds like we have picked our 10 plus 1.
Ooh. Exciting.
How do we want to package this? Because I think what was helpful last year, like our final letter had context for each of them, right? And I think Katie put together a lot of this for us last year. She's not on the subcommittee this year. How do we? Does someone want to take a stab at doing that? Do we have, for some of them, we have the history going back to like the 2024 General Assembly session, but we haven't updated anything for 2025 because some of these were brought forward and or were passed but then vetoed by the governor.
Okay. Yeah, I can and probably should be the one to take a stab at this. Do you know where she found the county board history of support for this?
Just on the website.
Okay,
So the only ones that it would probably be relevant to would be the ones that we noted that the board had already included. So if you just type in like 2024 county board legislative priorities, you'll find it on the website.
okay.
And then they have a housing section.
Okay, yep, I can do that. Can you send this to me? Or so you can, And then notes will have the final 11 list, right? Okay,
Well, there hasn't been notes produced for any subcommittee
oh, okay,
in post.
okay.
I can send out, I can note and all on the sheet. If you want, I can send it out to everyone.
Yeah,
Like,
just
here's what
email the
what it
list,
is.
yeah.
And
Have
have
it.
it. 1, 2, 3,
1, 3.
7, 8. 11, 13, 14, 15. 19, 20, and 29.
Okay,
Those are a good list, I think.
Yeah, I think this year we'll definitely want to have a discussion with the board about, can you actually ask our delegation to carry some of these and not just say, oh, we agree with this, yes. Um, or at least like allow us to make that request if the board says, yes, we support this legislation, but they don't want to expend resources trying to find a patron. Like, okay, well, can we go talk to our delegation and ask them to carry it?
Or at least be brought up in the public meeting, because that's on record that they support. I mean, not say it is on record with the thing, but then it's further, that's, maybe not. If we can't get them to do full, that will be another step.
Yeah.
and so I'll need to have this ready by the 2nd September meeting.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be great if you have it for the first one, just as like an info item. And then,
September 4th.
yeah, I mean, at least like, here's the list of all the ones we're making it look pretty and putting more detail in. But I mean, we have those. So I think,
Okay,
When you
yeah, I'm
do
not gonna
your-
have the background by September.
but when you do your update on September 4th, like, during that section, just saying, here are the ones that we're planning to bring forward to the full committee.
Okay,
So that at least that way it's kind of like an info item and then it becomes an action item and then.
okay, that's fine, yeah. And when will we know the second date? Oh, tomorrow, okay. Think we can. Selena already left.